anticipating a pretty busy summer. There's a lot of teams that will realize what needs they have after the playoffs are done. Like Houston, for example, I feel like, the Lakers need to make moves. There's a lot of teams that are in the mix. There's a lot of parity. And so I feel like a lot of teams are going to be buying. More importantly, I think that like when you fail to make the playoffs, or let's say you flub out in the play-in, there's lots of players that just ultimately realize they need to change the scenery. A lot of teams firing their GMs as well. That certainly signifies that there's going to be a lot of trades happening this summer. So my point is, it'll be a busy summer, and I wanted to check in a couple of times. Maybe after each round, would the Raptors or should the Raptors trade for these eliminated stars? So right now, obviously, the first round of the playoffs are going on, so there's still 16 teams that, out of respect, I'm not going to include. But the names that I have of guys that are eliminated right now, Sacramento Kings, flamed out of the play-in. Surprise, surprise, the DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine reunion didn't exactly go too far. Not asking for those guys because we've already had DeMar and Zach LaVine. I'm good. But Domantas Sabonis, it'd be kind of interesting if he becomes available. I think Sacramento are certainly, they just changed their new GM. They just fired their head coach. We'll see what they're going to do with the head coach there. But they already got rid of Fox, and the other core piece that they had was Domantas Sabonis. He's got 3 years remaining at $46 million. Alex Wong, should the Toronto Raptors jump in on Domas Sabonis?
No, I'm good with Jakob Poeltl. I don't.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think the Raptors should upgrade at other places, maybe on the wing and at guard. I'm not sure if you bring in Sabonis. I feel like you're gonna have to run a lot of your offense through him. I don't know what the fit is gonna be with some of the other starters on this team. So I'm gonna take a pass on Domantas Sabonis.
What do you think his value actually is? Like, what is Sabonis for you?
Yeah,
like,
that's a good question. I don't know what his... he's always leading the league in rebounding. He's always leading
Wonderful.
the league in his triple-doubles, but I don't ever know what the impact of his game is when I'm watching him in, like, the key games and watching him in the playoffs and stuff. I feel like a player that's been kind of maxed out, and it's not a player that you can really build your team around if you're trying to win.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to commit this much money to the center position unless they're like a superstar center. And I feel like that those resources are better allocated. Honestly, I would even argue that like getting a really good center like Jakob at $20 million is actually maybe better value or just better use of your resources in a cap environment than giving Sabonis 3 years, $46 million. I'm curious to see which team actually ultimately lands him because he can't do a lot of stuff. Like, he's physical. He can. If you have guards, I love dribble handoffs. I feel like Sabonis is a great player for you. But I don't think the Raptors should be in for Sabonis either. Speaking of somebody who should be in for dribble handoffs, so Trey Young for the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks also fired their GM. Breaking news on the episode that Landry Fields is gone. Landry Fields, I hope. I don't know, actually. Landry Fields has lived a charmed existence, so I think he's already pretty good. But in any case, the Atlanta Hawks might be looking to make moves as well. Trae Young, who, if you watch the 2 playing games, he is like their only guy who creates offense for them. He has $46 million remaining on his contract for next year, and then the following year has a $48 million player option. Basically, this is the summer where the Hawks have to decide, are they married to Trae Young or do they need to move on? And I guess I'm asking you, should the Raptors go in for Trae Young?
Trae Young's another player that I don't feel like fits the Raptors. I've seen too many clips of Trae Young just getting absolutely cooked on defense.
Right.
And I don't want that as my as part of my starting lineup. Like, I don't want that as one of the key players on my team. I think he's another guy too. Once you bring Trae Young in, a lot of the offense has to center around him. I just think he's too flawed of a star player, and I don't think he's worth it.
Yeah, I think he's also in line for another new contract. I feel like, or he's looking for an extension. I think more than anything else with Trae Young, as you mentioned, like, he lifts the floor of your team. Like, certainly offensively, let's be real. Like, the Raptors he would instantly be the Raptors' best offensive player. He would lift a lot of what they need to do offensively. But at the same time, he caps you out because of that defensive ceiling. And also offensively, even though he lifts up your floor, isn't actually that like superstar ceiling where like he's carrying you through multiple sort of series. I think that like Trae Young looks like he needs to change the scenery too. He looks kind of unhappy. He's like always like he got himself ejected from the playing game for like spinning a ball a referee. Like, he ball faked a referee, which is hilarious. Like, what are you doing, man? But like I think for Trae, like, he should go to a team that already has a lot of the other defensive infrastructure in place. I mean, I like that Orlando trade, for example. That's a team that can use him. I think San Antonio probably wants to get in on him as well. But then again, they already got Fox, so I think that they're probably decided. But they were in on Trae Young last summer. I think the Lakers are maybe a link to Trae Young as well. But now they got Luka, so they definitely don't need Trae Young. So I'm actually really curious to see which team he lands up on. Like, you think Houston could use him either? Like another team that has a lot of good defense?
Yeah, I think Houston should aim a little higher. I like how about a Trey Young and Ja Morant swap? Yeah.
Ooh. Your problem for my problem trade?
Yeah.
Classic Bill Simmons?
Yeah, classic, 80 cents on the dollar.
Oh, man.
I would like to see that because there's a lot of guys, I think Trey Young falls into this category too, and Ja Morant as well, that it feels like they just need a change of scenery. Like, it feels like they need to be on a different team. But, yeah, I would say
But don't you want Ja to go to an organization where, like, the structure is already in place, where, like,
yeah, but I think
there's good vets around, etc.
Yeah,
et cetera.
but I think those teams don't want Ja Morant or don't need Ja Morant. I don't think those situations are available for Ja. So, but I think Trey Young's ultimate destiny, if he's on the market, I think Orlando really is the best fit.
Okay, I agree with you. Trey would do some things for the Raptors, but it would change so much of what the Raptors already have built in place. It just feels like a complete departure of like what direction they're going in right now. Although I gotta say he would add a lot offensively. That goes without saying. Zion Williamson with the New Orleans Pelicans has 3 years remaining at $42 million per year. Don't forget that Zion has that clause in his contract of like if you don't like he has like weight clauses, he has like games played clauses. So it's not necessarily the most guaranteed money, but at the same time. Yeah, I mean, the Pelicans, they look like they're going nowhere. They fired their GM as well. So I think they're looking to move. And if you're going to pivot off of this era of New Orleans basketball, that has to be Zion. I mean, like, forget all the other pieces. But I don't even know what's going to happen in New Orleans, to be fair. But would you swoop in and get Zion? Is this the time for Toronto to buy low?
I think if a player like Zion is available, I think the Raptors should definitely consider it. And I think they should look at what pieces that they can trade to take a flyer on Zion. I think the ceiling is just so high on getting a player like Zion Williamson if everything does pan out. And this is where the Raptors have to think that they have a better organizational structure than New Orleans. Maybe they're able to get a more motivated player to come in. I've always advocated that, depending on where they fall in the draft lottery and what they get in the first round pick, like if that's something that's enticing to New Orleans, they should have a conversation around that.
Do you think the Raptors called them about Zion? Because they definitely called them and made the trade with Brandon Ingram. So you knew that there were conversations between the two teams with trade talks.
Yeah, and now Joe Dumars is there. It's a new GM, right? And I think there's been some early reporting that maybe the mandate is to find a trade partner for Zion this summer. So I'd be curious. I do think if Zion is available, there is going to be probably more teams than people think that will be in the bidding. Like many teams are going to talk themselves into Zion. And so many teams, I think, in the East too, like someone like a Miami could talk themselves into getting a player like that and be able to maybe make a jump in the standings right away. Like for all his flaws, like you could talk yourself into slotting Zion into so many of these teams.
Yeah. It's the ultimate upside swing. I agree with you. I'd swing on the upside too. I think when if we go back to February and the Raptors are around trade deadline, and we were talking about like, does New Orleans break it up? And obviously they're trying to. I think when we were given the choice between like who would you rather grab, Brandon Ingram or Zion Williamson, I think we both preferred Zion in that situation.
Yeah, and from like a pure talent standpoint, like
that's the reason. I mean, Brandon I think is a much more sure bet than Zion, but Zion's younger, and also Zion just has more talent.
Yeah, Zion would be like one of the top 3 most talented guys to join the organization, like ever. Just from a talent standpoint. I mean, he hasn't accomplished anything, but the upside is there. So yeah, I'm all in if Zion is available. I'd love for the Raptors to explore that.
Yeah, that would be really exciting. I mean, I think it'd probably have to start with IQ or RJ, maybe both, maybe some of their young prospects. You never know. To be honest, I don't even know what New Orleans is looking for, because besides trading Zion, they also got to trade CJ McCollum. They got to trade DeJounte Murray. There's a lot of pieces on that team that need to be moved.
They should just bring that team back.
I mean,
it's harder to tear down. Yeah.
The thing is, the West is also so competitive that it's like, what are the Pelicans realistically? What's their path to a championship, or even a path to being back in the playoffs? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Also, why did they trade Brandon Ingram for just one Pacers pick?
That's why their GM's fired. Yeah.
They're like, you're out of here, man. That was the last straw. Speaking of out of there, Kevin Durant definitely looking to go. $54 million expiring contract. We know the Raptors aren't going to get it on KD. Let's be real. This isn't the Kawhi Leonard situation at all. KD's older. Honestly, for KD's sake, I hope he doesn't come to Toronto. I hope he goes to a team that's ready to contend. Like, you're a great player. You only have so many prime years left. Like, please maximize them and just fit in and try to be happy. Because I feel like KD's like the NBA's Don Draper. This guy's just
Okay.
He's just crashing out at the end of every season. Like, when is KD ever happy?
Yeah,
You know?
KD hasn't been happy for a while. Unfortunately, the ship has sailed for a KD and Toronto fit. A few years ago, you could have talked yourself into it because the Raptors did have a pretty competitive roster and a win now roster. That roster is, not where it is right now, where you feel like adding a KD, especially with what you're going to have to give up, is going to keep you competitive. And like you mentioned, KD is at the tail end of his career now, still a great player. So yeah, a few years ago, I would have been advocating for this nonstop, but now it feels like the fit is not there anymore.
Yeah, KD. I don't know. What is the happy ending for KD?
OKC gets bounced in round 2. Jalen Williams, 2 of 17 in Game 7.
Oh man.
And Sam Presti finally goes into his draft vault and offers the Phoenix Suns 7 picks and 4 pick swaps.
Well, I don't think it'll take that much.
Yeah, actually, I don't think it'll take that much. They're
that's
pretty
a little
desperate.
too many. Yeah, it's a
They're
little
like,
too many.
You want Case and Wallace for KD, and then we'll just make the money work. And then KD goes back to OKC, and he's the final piece of the puzzle to get OKC over the hump, and they win the championship.
You know what? That is the exact perfect ending, and I'm rooting for that from a league perspective and for Kevin Durant himself. Last star here, potentially available, Devin Booker. This will require the Phoenix Suns to completely hard reset on everything, which I don't think they will do. I think they will try as much as possible to find a good situation for KD. I mean, they're going to try to blackmail Bradley Beal into leaving.
No, they have to buy him out for $600 million.
This is the biggest buyout of all time, and they bought out Bradley
Beal, biggest caper since Ocean's 11, man. Holy.
Bradley Beal's like, I'm good, man. I like Phoenix. My family likes
my
Phoenix.
God.
It's warm. We don't have expectations to win. Like, what's wrong with Phoenix? Shouts to Bradley, but yeah, if they hard reset, I think Devin Booker is by far their best asset. They don't even have other assets. They fired their head coach. I don't know how is James Jones still running that thing?
James Jones still running it for now. Yeah.
They have no picks in the future. Like, this is one of the worst situations in the league in terms of asset wise. But yeah, if they move Devin Booker, who has 3 years remaining at $57 million per year, I mean, honestly, I feel like Devin Booker is exactly what the Raptors need.
Oh yeah, I would do everything to try to get this guy. I think being able to get Devin Booker, you've already seen what he can do at the highest level with the playoff run with Phoenix. He's still in his prime years. And he had a bit of a down year this year, but I don't know how to evaluate the Suns this year. Like, they were just not a good team. They seemed like they just didn't want to be around each other. But, yeah, I would move all the pieces, draft picks, consider moving guys off the roster, whatever it takes to get Devin Booker here. And it's possible. Like, if he really is available, the Suns are going to be looking for just multiple pieces, right? Like, draft picks, combination of roster, younger players, and the Raptors do have the fit there.
The only thing we don't have is a huge cache of extra picks.
Right.
I don't think we have any surplus picks now that we got.
But I think what Phoenix would be looking for is basically what Phoenix did, is we'd have to mortgage maybe 4 or 5 years of picks.
Yeah, see, that's where I don't ever want to see the Raptors do that, because that's the lifeblood of our organization.
The front office never seems like they want to do something like that. I feel like they might have had opportunities in the past. Where did I go?
He's a ghost speaking to us.
Yeah, you talk. I'll be back.
Yeah, I think the issue with the Devin Booker thing is I think the Raptors are just outcompeted. I think a team like OKC should jump in. They have basically the ultimate trump card of whoever they want to get, they can get them because of the picks. I think Brooklyn is lining up for some sort of star addition, and I think they will definitely sniff around. I'm not necessarily sure Brooklyn has better options than the Raptors, but they do have way more picks. The Raptors would have to throw in a bunch of their prospects. And I mean, to be fair to the bench mob this year, which I do not want to break up, I would love to see them return, but none of them have the profile and the cachet of being like, that's the can't miss prospect that you trade Devin Booker for. So I don't know. I think the Raptors get outcompeted, but that style of player I think would fit the Raptors perfectly. I think Devin also played under Darko previously. Darko was the assistant coach in Phoenix for I think 1 or 2 years. So there's a connection there too. But ultimately, this feels out of reach for the Raps. So that's the only thing. But I mean, yeah, I actually agree with this point by Mel. We got to build a solid team before you give away your future. And I think the Raptors kind of. I mean, I'll keep asking you about these eliminated stars because I think Memphis will be out next week. And we'll ask about those guys. We'll ask about some of the other pieces that are probably available this summer. Again, I think it's going to be a pretty busy summer between the draft and free agency. But ultimately, Raptors are in the work on ourselves mode. You know what I mean? Like we just came off the last group. It didn't work out. It was kind of a bad situation. This is the mood where it's like you just got to like go to the gym, work out, change your habits, improve your focus, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like it's work on yourself season part 2. And I don't think you should really fast track with any of these opportunities unless you can somehow swoop in for Devin Booker. But I don't think that's on the table for us.
Listen, anything's better than spending another summer talking about potential Bruce Brown trade